Okay, folks, let's get started. Back where we left off, and let's make sure we got all the the settings where we need them. We got live chat on. Let's bring the brightness up more so we can see what was actually going on here. Okay. This is where we left off this morning. We're working on this building here. There's a fair amount of shutters. This one has shutters here, shutters up here, this one. So maybe a third of the windows actually have shutters on them. So you know, on one hand, the red brick doesn't look very French. On the other hand, the shutters don't look very Russian. That is a luxury that's not available in Soviet Russia. There are no shutters. That's very bourgeois. Very bourgeois. Some words you don't even figure out pronunciation. And one thing that it reminds me of is I was watching this, I was listening to this thing on the Crusades, and I had never heard this word before. I read it many, many times about the name of the Levant. The Crusader Levant is this French word. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I always read it at Outremer. Let's just say it's not pronounced that way. I didn't know. I've never heard anybody pronounce it before. You know? I will now call it Outremer, but I did not know that. All right. We have this color. And we already have a like and a visitor. Welcome. Welcome, likable person. Oh, I got my jewelry on. No need for that. Granite gray. The irony is this isn't the color that granite is. All right, get a little bit of that going. We're going to need our friend. Oh, I fudged this up. It's not a big deal, but that's I want to use this on the palette. I don't want the stuff washing away. No, I should have a new one of these. Not that I'm going to throw these away. They're totally reusable. Here's one. I don't want to get in a situation where I set the piece on here and make a mess. So today I took a little bit of a road trip after I went to work for 3 hours, something like that. Took a little road trip to the next town south that actually has a legitimate hobby store. Remember those things? Has a legit hobby store, and they have a bunch of train stuff too. So I want to see. Well, maybe they got little bricks or something to use for groundwork to scatter terrain. But I think I'm going to have to order them. There's several companies that sell them on eBay, and they don't seem like a very good bargain because it's like. Always get that with these lids. You get 300 bricks or something like that for like, I don't know, $7, $6 or $7. 300 bricks is not very many bricks. We'll see. We may just have to order them and see what happens. If it's $7 including shipping, that's not too bad. If it doesn't include shipping, well then you know, the costs just go up from there. All right, let's mix us a batch here. So anyways, I went to visit a couple stores. One of them was a game shop, one of them was a hobby store. I bought nothing at either one of the two places. They didn't have the right stuff. I don't just buy stuff just because it's there. Those days are over. That's unsatisfying. They didn't even have any tank models in 1/72nd scale. And I probably would have resisted buying some, even if they did. Because I don't want to get sidetracked. And we'll be on in the morning. Unless I oversleep. Which hopefully I do not, because that would really piss me off. Okay. Same thing. We're gonna finish this little building part. Maybe not the tube that goes to the ceiling. Maybe I will do that, but at least the window treatments on it. Yes, Mr. Stomach. All right. Let's move that out of the way. Actually, that's a little too full. Except I just realized this wasn't the color that I used for the rest of the treatment here. I was using Vallejo because this stuff doesn't thin as well. This is too watery when it thins. But we're already on this horse. Let's move forward on it. I don't know how old these molds are, these buildings, but man, these are these paint up pretty well. There's lots of detail for them to look at. And the shutters are probably going to be green or blue. I haven't decided which one yet. Probably blue. And it's going to be a drabish. It's not going to be like, super bright. It's not going to be like this. That'd be just absurd. And, weathered. If I don't like how it turns out, I could just redo it. And I'm actually surprised how infrequently I actually have to do that. 2 people, 2 likes. All right, let's make it 3 people, 3 likes. You know, I have thousands of videos on YouTube now, and I'm not sure I know how the algorithm works. You know, I know subscribers are important. I feel like subscribers is more important than likes, but I'm not really sure what I know. Oh, now it's three likes. I don't know. It must make a difference. I just want the video to be suggested to people that would have an interest in it. You know, there's nothing worse than, well, in recent memory, the thing that pissed me off more than anything else is this guy wanted to take over doing all the DBA stuff I did, and he didn't know that we had hundreds of DBA battles on there. Like, you want to be the guy in charge, but you're not aware that there's hundreds of stuff on YouTube? Like, that's pretty freaking ignorant. You know, I didn't do it to be famous. I did it because I didn't want the game to die. And it's just a game that it's very difficult to just pick up and start playing it because it's not written in a normal mode. Most people don't speak that way. I'm going to touch a little bit of the top here. And then we're going to come in and we're going to add some white to this. Just craft paint, folks. But you know, every color I put on here, it's like 3 or 4 different coats because it's, you know, highlighting each one. So it's not like, you know, it covers okay. If I had to do it just one, yeah, it wouldn't cover very well. All right, let's get the white out here. I mean, this is super watery. Apple barrel. Do I have a folk art? A folk art seems to be, I do. I have a folk art white. It's not opened. Well, it's about to be opened. The folk art black is amazing. It's almost kind of like the consistency of, whoa, the hard chunk in there. Oh yeah. I should never buy any. Oh, sons of bitches. Oh, we're right. Yep, I'll be right back in a few. All right. It came out, but you know, it's wet. You know, Anyways, what I was saying until this bastard interrupted me, this stuff is, and that happens with all those type of lids. The folk art is much thicker. All right, so let's get this color that we got going here. Let's mix up a fresh batch of it. I actually enjoy doing this more than if I was like buying like the paints and using them in the triad of pots. Who is it that makes that? Foundry. Foundry has those triad of pots. No, we need to go brighter than that. I've done this so many times that it's my way to put my own kind of spin on this stuff anyways. Here we go. It's almost impressionistic in a way. Oh, let's not forget this side. Cheap ass brushes and cheap ass paint. I mean, you can't just grab any brush though. You got to have ones that look like they got some shape to them, but they're certainly not expensive brushes. I went to one of the game stores. They were selling. Trying to think what the name of the company was. It's a company you guys all know. Green Stuff World. I think it was Green Stuff World, and they had some brushes from Green Stuff World, and they looked pretty good. I'm like, what are these like? 4 brushes for $34. I'm like, yeah, no. I don't care if they're red sable or nothing. I'll use the El Cheap. It's peace of mind, man. You can't put a price on peace of mind. Nice. Okay. Let's get this side too. All right. Shutter time. Shut her down. I'm going to use a blue. What color we got here? This is English Navy. I think English Navy is a little too. Yeah, it's a little too blue. And it won't be this, we're going to mix it with black. So we're going to come up to this level. Indian turquoise. Native American turquoise or truly Indian? Let's take a look at something before it's too late. Let's boot up the old computer up. Come on. And normally I'd be doing this on the phone because we'd be filming with a computer, but ever since the computer's been a little pain to disconnecting you guys, we don't need that kind of nonsense. We're going to do a search for French, World War II, shutter. No, not shitter. Shutter color. Let's just do more images. Pastel seems to be kind of the color of the day. We're going to do pastel blue. Yeah, this is good right here. Azure. This is an old Vallejo. This is one of these colors that I may have only used it to paint the tip. That's it. It's one of these old Vallejo colors that is either half of the paint is really thick, there's like a big turd in the middle of it, and the rest of the paint is just very watery. So I usually that should do it. I'm going to go ahead and put this away, put this back. I'm going to wipe this down so we don't transfer this to someplace where we don't want it, and end up creating more work for ourselves. It's not like we can't fix it, but I have enough to do. All right, so we're going to take this azure, add some black to it. I'm going to get some kind of a grayish, a bluish gray color. Add a little bit of water in it. And this is what we're going to paint the shutters on this building. I may end up doing it on all of them. I may vary them slightly. I do not know. I do not need to make that important decision right this second. Okay? And let's make sure we don't have anything on us. We'll paint the whole shutter in this color. too bright. You need leave yourself some room to bring it up. There we go, that's a little bit better. Yeah, those are the super readers. Okay, we're going to flip to the other side. Okay, we're going to go back to the first one. Let's dry it a little bit. And we're going to mix more of this azure color. I'm not even going to go to a smaller brush. We're going to use this brush. Except it's a little too wet. All right, so we'll have a drink. Two shows in one day. I wasn't expecting that, but my daughter has a friend over, so I'll just get out of their way and hang out with my people. Now, we're going to need it for it to dry a little bit, which is not usually something that I got to worry about, but well, what's everybody up to on this wonderful Saturday? What's left of it? Could get like a hair dryer. You guys don't want to listen to that. No, still too wet. All right, worry not. We're going to use the drain. We're going to do the drainage pipes. Gotta stay moving, man. Serpentine. Can't just sit around and wait for stuff to happen. All right, so we got one here. Okay. And then we've got one over here. So strange to have this big building, this long building that has no intermediate pieces. There's no floors or anything like that to take out. It's kind of spooky. I'm expecting when I pick this thing up for something to fall out of it, but that isn't the case. And there's another drainage pipe there. Okay, now we've gone full circle, so we're going to go back to this first side. And we're going to add more of this like buff type color. So we end up getting like a dirty ass looking gray. All right. Good afternoon, Ben, but it's not afternoon for you. It's not even afternoon here. Vans Connect, welcome back, man. Arizona stand. It's kind of a strange flag Arizona has. And I'm not knocking it, it's just kind of odd. It looks kind of like the logo for a breakfast restaurant. Doesn't it? I mean, be objective. It kind of does. It's like, looks like dawn. You know? I think it's one of the better looking state flags. Not that that means anything. We've been through that. We did a state flag show, and most of them are butt ass ugly. I bet there's a breakfast restaurant in Arizona that uses the state flag in part of its logo. I bet you money that there is. Just like one time I was talking about something, that word is, that phrase, like you're in cahoots with somebody. I'm like, cahoots sounds like a coffee shop in Minnesota. And sure enough, I looked it up and there's a place in Minneapolis, Cahoots Coffee Company. I mean, I don't make this shit up. I mean, that's what it sounds like. Luckily, somebody was smart enough to cash in on that. Because that's exactly what it sounds like. Just like I bet there's a breakfast, a Rise and Shine or something like that. Arizona Rise and Shine. It uses the Arizona flag. That's what it looks like. It looks like dawn. I guess it's maybe sunset, but do people really eat something at sunset? Only if it's your last meal and you're being hung at the gallows. They're a place that they still hang people. Okay. Now, is the blue finally stop being temperamental and can I use it now? I went to Mexico recently and they had this big Mexican flag at the airport. And I took a picture of it. And there is a breakfast place in Tucson called Jethro's. That's a ton of flags in a restaurant. The Mexican flag, the center logo, which is the eagle part of it. I like that part. I'm not a big fan of the eagle in the middle of the Italian flag. And actually, I was reading something sometime, and actually the Mexican flag came before the Italian flag, so it's the other way around. Things are not how you think they are. Jethro's. Breakfast at Jethro's. All right, let's see if we can put this on. Is this brush going to be too damn big? The thing about a big brush is it carries more paint with it, so you don't have to reload it as often. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And then we're going to add white to it to make some of the stuff stand out. And do the same thing to this side. Okay, and now we'll add a little bit of white to that, which may or may not be alive. It is. breakfast place in Tucson? Do they have a Tucson omelet? Well, they have a Denver omelet, but any other cities that have an omelet named after them? Definitely one of the foods. It's one of the breakfast things that's the hardest to get right is an omelet. If it's not cooked enough, it's bad. If it's too cooked, it changes the taste of it. It's just weird. French toast is probably the hardest breakfast thing to get right. I like a good French toast, but man, it's almost impossible to get one. Like Philly cheesesteak, impossible to get a. Is that what I meant to say? Yeah, a good one. I don't, and I don't. I guess their traditional one has like cheese sauce, but we don't live in 1972 anymore. There's nobody should be eating cheese sauce. Just a little bit more. So what'd you do all day, Ben? You waiting for me to come on? I went to the other town over and checked out a couple of. One of them was a game store. One's a legitimate hobby store, and walked away with. Here we go, with nothing. They just didn't have the right stuff there for me to buy. I didn't need anything. It just felt like going for a drive, half hour away. Okay, here's the shutter. Shutter's there. It's time to move on to the next building over. Let me get a refill on the soda. I'll be right back. Da-da-da. Basically, I gorged on amaretto biscuits. All right, well, when you mean biscuits, you actually mean crackers, right? Because you guys have them all, You're not going to have amaretto biscuits and gravy. That'd be nasty. Unless the gravy's made out of, I don't know, syrup? I don't know. Gorged on amaretto biscuits walked the dog, and had a nap. I was supposed to be costing up a new wargaming project. You sent a Facebook message with a picture of the inside of Jethro's. Little hard cookies. Oh, you little hard cookie. Well, I'm not going to say, why do you, I was going to say, why do you call biscuits that? But why do we call biscuits what we call biscuits? Somebody went awry. They both can't be biscuits. All right, let's see. I got to see what that's all about now. Jethro's. Da-da-da-da-da. Facebook. Sending pictures on Facebook is just so handy. Yeah, there's a lot of trash on Facebook, but there's a lot of good stuff on there too. Oh, that's cool. I'm a fan of the Union Jack. The Union Jack is just a. I'm not trying to kiss freaking Ben's ass. I think the Union Jack is a cool ass freaking flag. Got the 3%er one and no step on snake. They got some interesting. What's the Gonzalez one that has the cannon? Yeah. No step on snake. This thing's almost empty. A lot of these I commandeered from my daughter. She has the art things too. I figured, I'll just store all of them. All versions of America flags. Let's see, of all those, isn't the Hawaii one similar to that? It's got a Hawaii flag has a Union Jack on it. I've never seen the one with the circle of stars and one star in the center. The one that's right behind that, the Union Jack and the stripes. I've never seen that one before. Man, were we glad to be back in the United States after being in Mexico. I remember going to the terminal, landed in Dallas, Fort Worth, and I was in the lead of the three. And I was like, I love this country. And we had a good time. It was a pain to leave. It was fine while we were there, but it was a pain to freaking leave. Freaking protesters. It was absurd. Um, right, so we're going to do the next one over. So let's do the what did we use as the core color? We used a Vallejo stone. Even the Union Jack in the corner was an AWI flag. I wonder how the people in the U.S. lost the English accent. In Canada, how'd they, Because I'll tell you right now, if I spend 6 months in the UK, I'll have some kind of weird make-believe kind of accent. I pick things up. Oh, Snapdragon. There we go. There we go. We're going to use that for this color. All right, this is the stone gray. We go down across the Mexican border all the time for dental treatments. You do? You trust them? I don't know. I've never been to that part of Mexico, the frontera. I'd be worried about that. The dusty part, never. Nope. That's where all the narcos are at. I saw Narcos Mexico. Everything I know about drugs, I learned from watching Narcos Mexico. Everything I know about liquor, I figured that out myself. But drugs, Narcos Mexico. I was surprised to hear that Tijuana is like the third biggest city in Mexico. Well, that's a new development. Third or fourth. I was floored, actually. I knew Mexico City was number one. I figured Puebla was number two, and it is. And then three is actually like Leon. And I'm like, what the? I mean, Leon is in the middle of freaking nowhere. I mean, it's half-ass in the desert land. But half-ass in the desert land. That's just up in the north part where I've never been to that part before. You've had bad experiences with dentists in the United States. I don't. I fall asleep. And I haven't had any. I guess I probably have had what you would call major dental work, but it wasn't painful. You know, eventually, either your teeth fall out or you have dental work. It happens. I had a crown that was replaced on a tooth, and it didn't even hurt. And it was because I had a molar that was cracked. Couldn't feel it or nothing. It was like preventative, just in case. But I fell asleep in the chair. No big deal. It's 1/10 the price. I don't think I paid more than $400 for my procedure. My out of pocket part was only like $400. I don't think it was more than that. But I was like, that's pretty cheap. You don't want to tell them, hey, that's pretty cheap. Oh, that's right. We forgot to charge you for something else. I do not like going to the regular doctor, but I don't mind going to the dentist. Got to go to your cleanings because you're paying for them anyways, whether or not you use them, whether or not you do them. Now we're going to do all the sills. Likewise, we're going to move to this building, just this part right here, do front and back. You start taking out too big a bite, and then, doesn't look right. And there's still weathering it's going to be done on the stone and stuff like that. It just kind of, that's the thing that looks kind of weird. Like the inside's pretty much done, but the outside isn't. So it's like, it looks like the inside's like overdone compared to the outside. So. You went to Waffle House for breakfast yesterday. I had a hankering for it several years ago. And then when I went, I was like, what's wrong with me? Now, I do like those hash browns, but many years ago in another lifetime, I used to smoke. And the first thing I noticed when I quit was that I didn't really like the fact that when I went to these restaurants that were you smelled like a skillet. And when you smoke, you don't notice it because you smell like a freaking ashtray. So I don't really like going to places that you're stinky when you leave, and Waffle House is one of those places. But regardless, I wanted to have I had a hankering for they got that raisin toast and their hash browns are good. And after I had it, I was like, this is terrible. This is not how things used to be. And this was pre-COVID, so I can't use that whole "oh, it's after COVID" excuse. No, I didn't care for it. My brother used to swear that he liked to go in there and have a hamburger. Like, who the fuck has a hamburger at a Waffle House? So when you say Arizona, the very first thing I think of is, right or wrong, the very first thing I think of is that movie Breakdown. Takes place in Arizona. The one with Kurt Russell and the truck driver or whatever. I was watching that movie with my daughter a couple of years ago. She's like, "Dad, all it just had to solve is the guy just had to have a firearm with him." I said, "Yep. Don't get caught in the desert without a firearm." I'm not going to spoil the movie for you in case you haven't watched it, but it's worth giving it a watch once, at least. Inside of this, like this. Only time I've ever been in Arizona is we're on the way to Utah. We landed in Phoenix, and it was 88 degrees or something like that at night, that's like Florida weather. Obviously, it gets cool in the desert sometimes, but you guys have some hot days too. True, the cops out here will ask you if you have a firearm in the car when they pull you over. Then ask why not if you don't. Yep. Yeah, I don't go on a road trip without one. I'm not trying to be a badass, but you break down in the middle of the road and somebody comes for help. How do you know they're not somebody that's nefarious? You know, just common sense. I'm not trying to be this freaking superhero or anything. I'm just saying that there's bad folks out there, man. Yeah, cops all right out there, I guess. Cops aren't a problem here unless they're short. Which case, well, I don't have to tell you anything else. You figured it out. But I don't really have a problem with cops at all unless they don't mind their own business or they want to give me a life lesson or something like that. I'm like, all right, Mr. Cop, let's pull our records and see who should be able to, who should be giving who a ticket. You know, best Kurt Russell movie in Arizona is Tombstone. That's right. I forgot about that. Well, I don't, I don't dislike that movie at all. I saw it in the theaters when it came out, and I've watched it once since then. I am not a Western fan. It's my dad's fault. He didn't watch Westerns, so I never watched them either. I did watch in the movie theater. Um, I like Kurt Russell as an actor, but he's just. It's hard to forget that it's Kurt Russell when you're watching a Kurt Russell movie. I don't know if that makes any sense, but he doesn't blend really well. Um, but with that said, I do like him as an actor, and he doesn't seem to be a leftist idiot. That always helps. You don't have to be a right wing guy. Just don't be some leftist idiot. It doesn't make any sense. But like this guy that was on a plane, man, I almost got into it with him because he was like, "Oh well, these protests have shut down the airport. That happened because they weren't negotiating with the government's not negotiating with." And just shut the fuck up. You're allowed to protest things, but you're not allowed to shut everything down. I believe in you should have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want. But when your freedom starts basically keeping other people from having their freedom, that's where I have a problem with it. You know, um, and if that's how they're going to allow things to go in Mexico, we're just not going to go to Mexico again. There's a whole bunch of other countries we've never been to. And that wasn't just me talking. That was my tolerant wife that just like she couldn't walk by those people and not say stuff to them like you guys are a bunch of freaking idiots. I'm like, man, this woman's going to get me into a fight. But it was a bunch of teachers, so what are they going to do? Throw the book at you? No, they were just peons. They were being told that they needed to show up and demonstrate at XYZ location. Their masters were telling them to do it. So just tells you how we're just so used to everything just being running smooth here in this country. We take for granted. And I didn't like that movie that Kurt Russell was in with the what was that double? What was it? Was that Tarantino movie where he plays like the he plays basically the stunt driver that wants to kill people? Like Kurt Russell just is not a bad guy. It just some people you just they're just roles that just don't work for them. Harrison Ford doesn't make a good Soviet submarine commander. You know, Kurt Russell doesn't make a very good serial killer. You know, and I need to remember I've never watched Escape from New York or Escape from L.A. or any of those two. I probably should. I just don't get around to watching much. There's always something better to do than just sit in front of the TV and watch a movie. And the only time I find a time to watch a movie is I'm on a flight. I'm on a flight, and as bad as that Napoleon movie was, it was still the best choice with the things that were available to watch on that flight. Hateful Eight. Yeah, I get Hateful Eight and Django Unchained mixed up because they're similar. They're similar setups. Um, Hateful Eight all takes place in the bar, right? I guess that's the difference. Yeah, he was a bounty hunter or something like that. Yeah, I get those two movies mixed up. They both might be Tarantino movies or whatever. They're the same time period, right? They're 1800s or whatever. I get those two mixed up. Doesn't Hateful Eight have that Austrian actor that everybody's loves? I don't really care for him. The one from Inglorious Bastards. I don't dislike him. He just doesn't do anything. He just, doesn't do anything for him. Whatever his name is. I love that sack. I love the sack scene from Django Unchained. That was freaking hilarious. That was freaking hilarious. Ah, man, the lighting in this room is just spectacular. It's just really amazing. Even without this light, just the LEDs I have in the roof. Well, I don't have them. The owner who had them before had them. Look, I mean, I still have it. Well, no, I need this too. But I mean, it's just better than just painting with this one light. But I've always painted with lots of light. So much so that I go somewhere for conventions, and I've had several people tell me, "Well, your miniatures don't look very good. They're too dark." I said, "Well, no, the lighting here sucks. You know, you take them outside, they look great. Historically, some of the best lighting you can get is just painting outside. On a sunny day. Well, you can't have that all the time, and I really don't want to paint in 120-degree weather. I'm exaggerating. 110. It was 105. It feel like 105 today. I know it's probably even hotter in Arizona, but we had like it hasn't rained in 2 weeks, and I bet the humidity is still over 80%. We could use some freaking rain. There's no doubt about it. Of course, when it starts to rain, it'll rain every day for like 3 weeks. But I think that's where it is. The world. You just remember stuff like that. That pretty much happens everywhere. Let's hit all of this side here, and then we're going to flip this, and we'll hit this side. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of westerns. I didn't mind Tombstone. Um, and some of them just don't age well. I tried watching. I'd never seen Unforgiven, and I watched it about 3 years ago, and was just like, "This is the movie that everybody had been raving about." Because that's one of those movies that just about everybody raves about. And there's a handful of movies like that. Actually, there might be more movies like that than I can remember. But there's some movies where nobody has anything bad to say about them, or nobody I haven't encountered has said anything bad about them. That's one of those movies. Tombstone's one of those movies. Everybody likes Tombstone. Everybody likes Tombstone. Everybody likes Tombstone and Val Kilmer's performance. Pretty much a universal. There might be some asshole out there that disagrees. Probably the same guy who who doesn't think a Spitfire is an attractive aircraft. Yep, there's one guy out there. I encountered him on Facebook or something like that. He spoke, "Oh, it's bottom line Spitfire." Idiot. Go back in your hole, troll. Everybody likes a Spitfire. Even people that were shot down by a Spitfire like the Spitfire. Yeah, yeah. Pretty much universal. Uh, Tombstone is a well liked movie by pretty much everybody. I've probably only seen 5 or 6 westerns. I know that sounds crazy, but I didn't grow up watching them. My dad didn't. You pick up a lot of stuff from your dad. Assuming you know who your dad is, which that's a thing now. Didn't used to be. You pick up stuff from your dad whether you want to or not. Of course, he didn't watch war movies either, but watched Hogan's Heroes. So why'd you pick Landsknecht 1525? I mean, I know what 1525 is. That's the Vienna. That's the first siege of Vienna. They were fighting for Charles V, or as they call him in Spain, Charles I. I always call him Charles V, Mr. Habsburg himself. All right, let's flip to the other side and do the same thing. Oh, this one has, nope, I was about to say, it has less openings. Nope, it's got them in the top too. It's got them in the top also. Battle of Pavia. Holy Roman Empire versus France. Hey, I got both of those DBA armies. God, I don't miss playing that game. I know that sounds probably strange to you guys, but had some good games. But man, just I don't want to play a game and not video it. And every time you video it, weird shit comes up that you've never seen before. I played 3,000 fucking games of it. And then people that don't know anything about it, never played a game before, want to chime in about what they think the rules are. Like, how about play 100 games and get back to me? Or you think you're going to be an expert in the matter just because you read through the book there, Mr. Nerd Burglar? I'm just going to go ahead and paint this color, even though we may tinker with this a little bit. Painting some foot knights now. Foot knights look pretty cool. I like knights. I like knights because there's an opportunity to do heraldry. Not in 1525. That's kind of gone sideways for the most part. Those days are gone. But as a general rule, I love heraldry. Now, maybe I'm a fan of heraldry because my own personal heraldry doesn't suck. Maybe if I had, a guy who was bent over blowing a horn out of his ass, Monty Python-esque ish, then maybe I wouldn't be such a fan of heraldry, and maybe I'd wish the whole thing had been forgotten. But since that's not the case, just an opportunity to learn about it and paint it and all that stuff. I'm a big fan. So I went to the store in the next town down from us, this game store, and they had a lot of stuff there. They had some stuff that I wish had been in 20 millimeter, not 28. A lot of stuff from Warlord Games, including this set they had of like rubble. So they had this set, it was relatively expensive, of like couches, barriers, and stuff like that you could, what do you call it? The scatter terrain. It was like scatter terrain for the battlefield. And it was like, that was really cool, but wrong scale. I don't do 28s. You're focusing on the Italian Wars and Renaissance. Yep. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite periods. When my ancestors were kicking ass, and then they found out a little thing called inflation. Oops. They brought about inflation. Oh, we have a visitor. Okay, well, I need to take a break for dessert. So I will be back. I'm going to keep the camera rolling. I should be back in about 5 minutes or so. 5, 10 minutes at the most. I'll be right back. Okay. There was just two people on there, and then I sat down like, oh, he's back. Fuck him. Oh man. Okay. Where the heck were we? Right. So shutters. We got shutters here. I'm probably going to make the shutters on this little block building a little bit different. Probably like a light green, and then do something different on this as well. So we'll have three different colored shutters. They're all going to be, pastel-like colors, so they all kind of go together. And at least that's what the idea is. But we're working on the lentils here. Lentil soup. No, not that kind of lentil. Let's mix some more of this up with the black. That's what we were doing. Did we do the other side? Yes, we did. All right. So we need to do like the inside of the door and things like that over here. Make it a little bit darker so we didn't get any on the door yet. And when you start doing this kind of stuff in this wet kind of dry brush, it helps to have lots of levels of the color, not just throw down one dry brush color and wonder why it doesn't look as good as stuff that you see in the pictures. Well, because it takes some time. You gotta build it up. And the reality is after I'm done with this, the building's done. I mean, that's all there is left to do. Come back and touch some of the brick up and things like that, but I just figured I didn't want to finish all the outside and then handle it and turning it around while I'm doing the inside. So I kind of worked inside out. So we'll see if when I'm done, if that was the right way to go about it, or I'll come up with another method. I don't remember how I did the other one, the other building, but we still have three more, I think. Yep, three other ones plus the two big ones. So it's five more buildings, and I got three, so we got eight. And I've got one that's not destroyed at all, so technically that's nine. So it should be a pretty decent sized town. And we haven't messed with trees yet. That's another thing we got to do. I've got a ton of woodland scenics trees already pre-built. I think they just need a little bit of TLC to bring them up to the next level. I took one of them. I made a little camp for my Turks way back when, and I took a little woodland scenics tree and I glued it on the stand. And I'm like, well, this just doesn't look very good. So I ended up dry brushing the trunk and adding a couple of colors to the leaves to make them pop, so they're not all like just one thing, one color, and it turned out great. So I think I'm going to use the same methodology there for the trees for this stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I was being a little too optimistic, saying, "Hey, I'll be done by we can play in the wintertime." Maybe it'll be in the wintertime, but it won't be this one. I don't know. We'll get there when we get there. This is all stuff I already have. I don't need to go out and buy trees. I mean, I'm not opposed to, but man, there's some laughter in the house. I'm curious to see what the hell I come up with using the airbrush and the felt. I think one thing that's kind of helped me is in the last 6 years ago, my up close vision started failing, and I basically had to do a lot of stuff with either reading glasses or just without my contacts in. And since I'm naturally nearsighted, it kind of gives me an advantage that I never have to touch things up because I'm seeing all the mistakes kind of as they happen. And I'm not saying I'm not making any mistakes. I'm just saying that it's not a surprise like I'm done with it and then look at it up close and go, oh man, this looks like crap. I'm aware of all the issues before we're done with the project. So but I also call, basically enjoying the sculpting that the people that create this stuff, whether it's miniatures, buildings, whatever it is that they're creating, you can really appreciate all the work that they've done when you can get all up in it and see it up close. So I'm definitely not somebody who's like, oh, it just has to look good as 3 feet away. Well, it can't because when I'm painting it's like in my face. It's 6 times bigger than it would normally be for normal people. So yeah, I got to fix those problems as I see them, or it's going to be an eyesore for me. Okay, let's flip to the other side. I think the other side is done. Yep. All right, so we're going to bring that up. Let's get more of this stone color, which I'm going to have to rebuy. I've used it a lot. It's kind of the base color I use for all my horse hooves. So I've been using and abusing it for years. I've done a lot of horses in the last 18 years, so. Now we're going to highlight this stuff. Mr. Marcus, man, a few days, man. Good to see you back. Thought I was going to catch you tomorrow AM. Well, you can catch me tomorrow AM too. I'll be here. I spent a whole week in Mexico land, so I got to make up for that. I got to get the taste out of my mouth. You know, other than breakfast, it was really difficult sometimes to figure out what the hell you were going to order, though, because it wasn't going to be uber weird. And we didn't go to crummy restaurants. They just, they eat stuff that I'm not used to. You've been listening to my past live streams. Excellent. Checks in the mail? Hey, and you're still listening, so I haven't pissed you off yet. That's not my goal. If that happens along the way, well, that's just an added bonus. No, I'm scared to go back to the filming with a computer. I don't want to have, 45 minutes in, I lose the feed and you guys are hanging. And then I got to spend the next 30 minutes resetting up the feed and, I'm like, let's just roll with it on the TV. You haven't traveled in some time, I miss it. Well, we're not going to third world country again. I don't give a shit what it is. It's just too inconvenient. It's too difficult for people to have a hectic work. I'm sure your job is hectic as shit. I know you're doing based on where you live. There's no calm jobs in New York City. You don't just sit around and rearrange stuff on your desk. I'm sure yours is a fast-paced job. We gotta come back to the office, So next week we're going to be gone again. So we'll try to paint as much as we can until Friday. We probably won't do a Friday show. And then I'll be gone for a week. So they don't let me paint on the cruise ship. Well, like I mentioned the other day, I actually did all 4 legs of the flight sober. And I don't mean drunk. I mean, like, I didn't even have any alcohol in me to go. I do not like to fly. And we had the takeoff on the way back on the first leg was rather bumpy. And that's particularly the part I don't like the most is the takeoff. But I did okay. I had my girls with me for good luck. So I tell you what, though, we traveled with global entry for the first time, and man, talk about feeling like you're royalty. That was so painless. It was scary. Let's just bring this one all the way the hell up to the top. Enough of this back and forth. Might be the last time I do it this way. Okay, that part's done. Let's get the side walls here. You like that touch of blue for shutters? Well, I was mentioning yesterday or the day before, there's a guy that went on one of the 1/72nd scale Facebook pages. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but he said, "Hey, here's some of these buildings I've been working on." And this guy's got a lot of buildings. He just decided put up his buildings for inspiration or what have you. And he has these buildings. He has these hovels buildings, and he has them painted in brick. But he has them portraying Eastern Front buildings. You know, obviously built up area, whether it's Stalingrad or Kharkov or something like that. A built up area, not just a little town or what have you. And I'm trying to get that out of my head because now I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, red brick, that doesn't really look like France, but you know, I, that village that was burned to the ground had, you know, it was a red brick building. So I don't know. I'm kind of struggling with that right now. Not maybe struggling is a wrong word, but I'm trying to get that out of my head because I do want these buildings to be useful for France and Russia. These particular ones. There's obviously there's specific Russian type buildings, and well, I found a boo boo. We didn't have any of this there. You can always just keep tinkering this back and forth, but I saw that, and now I have trouble unseeing that. And I look at the shutters. The shutters don't make this look like Russia. In Soviet Russia, there are no shutters. Like I said before, I know what I'm doing. I've just never done it before. If I make a mistake or something I'm not happy with it, it's really easy for me to correct it. I'd rather not correct it because it's time I could be using to build something new instead of fixing something that's already been done. You know, but could have talked to the guy that's changed things up. So on the other hand, is if I was using typical Normandy type colors for this building, I'd probably go with bricks that are colors like this. And the reality is if I did things like that, the inside of the building is going to look really similar in color to the outside brick, and it's going to look like I'm some dude that only has two colors in his repertoire, and I try to paint everything using them. And so that probably wouldn't be the right solution. So I just need to just be happy with it the way it is for now. The end result, I'm very happy with how this looks. And this certainly doesn't look like Russia to me, not with this little decorations here. You can't have decorations in Russia, it's forbidden or something like that. But I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So, and this is a set that goes across the road from probably this one. They probably would be across the street from each other. Whatever road happens to be there. You know, chuck grenades from one to the other. Just takes time. I love working on these terrain these days. Need to pimp up my city buildings with some movable rubble. Summer project for you. Have you sourced who you're going to get the rubble from? I want to say Patrick Miniatures has some, but I could be wrong. I got to use the restroom, unfortunately. I will be right back in a moment. I'm thinking of scratch built for most, but I was turning to a brand called Juila. What'd you call me? Might buy some scatter brick building, part rubble. Juila. All right. Well, I got my Mr. Computer here. Juila. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the one that I saw all those little bricks. But there's somebody that sells a bunch of these bricks, but they're really. Do you have questions? We're happy to help you. Okay. Juwila Scenic's Noble Knight carries them. Anti-tank obstacles. Brick Rubble Red Mix. That's 1/35th scale. That's just not going to cut it. I think it might have been from watching a Reprimo build. You're giving me a lot of ammo here. Let's see. Reprimo? All right, we'll look into that. Reprimo build. Juwila. Where's my tome of magazine articles here? War Games, Soldiers, and Strategy. If you look at some of these boards, and I think this is the direction I'm going to have to go in to be happy with it. I don't have to do anything. I just need to be happy with it. A lot of these boards have a lot of scattered terrain and just loose rubble that just, you got to pick it up when you're done. Let's see, where is it? Maybe it was somewhere else. There's one in particular that maybe it was on a different article, but there's one guy that I know that does a lot of stuff for Sword in the Flame. That's what he has. He has like this big bag of like rubble and stuff. And he actually uses rubble and little rocks for the roads. He never has like pieces of cardboard that have a road on them or something like that. He just, yeah, see here you could see some of the, we got some scattered little stuff here. It's nothing major, but I think I'm gonna need to buy some loose stuff and just, put it around things. So, anyhow, one step at a time. No point working on everything at once. We got to get some buildings. But Juwila, huh? Yeah. I've never heard that brand before. And there's somebody. What scale is this? Yeah, 1/35th, 1/48th, and 1/87th. Red Brick Mix 5-pack. Okay, how much come in each one? 15,000 pieces. Now we're talking. Okay, now we're talking. I'll throw $40 at that. Yeah. The bricks can be used for most different areas in a diorama, as a load for railways or trucks, as a heap of rubble in front of a construction site, or design individual stacks, paths, or walls. 1/87 should be able to work. They don't have 1/72nd scale stuff. If our scale get dissed, I'm gonna have to file a complaint. Yeah, do they sell on eBay? Do they sell on Amazon? Because then you can get it like, this is not what I wanted. I think that's fair. You falsely advertise something, it makes it look like it's what I'm looking for, and it isn't. See if Amazon has a jewelry. I don't care if it's a little bit more money. I think it's peace of mind. Juwela. Flexible segment with H pavers. Yeah, they got some jewelry. I don't have very much. They don't have very much. What about eBay? Um, what's his name was talking about sourcing a project. I guess this would be considered sourcing a project. I like sourcing a project. It's fun. It costs no money. There's this item that came in. I'm going to show this to you because you'll probably get a kick out of it. It is this 3D printing company they sell on eBay from Argentina. I'm going to pick up the phone and show you what it is. It's a seller called Horse 3D. Unfortunately, it's not very affordable. And what's interesting about this is a house, and inside the house, there's almost like a tractor that's in there. Let me see if I can glance at the phone and see if I'm showing it to you. There's like a tractor there. And unfortunately, it's $36, which isn't the problem, but it's $24 economy shipping. I'm just not going to spend that kind of money on a risk. It's way too risky for that. You know, it comes with multiple pieces. They got some cool stuff, and that was kind of what was unique. It's like I don't know where I'm going to put this tractor. I'm going to put it in my house, in a driveway or something. I don't know. That's just too expensive. It's like what, $60, right? Nah. But what if it sucks? You know? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. So I plan on probably getting more buildings, but I figured let's get the normal buildings that are easy to source first, and you can fill in with the weird stuff, you know? But yeah, they got some cool stuff, but the $24 shipping, it's in Argentina. You know, I mean, Europe's closer. It's just too big of a risk. You know, if it was like $30 or something, like, all right, if it's great, okay, $60 is worth it. But what if it isn't? You know? Kind of like Simon Soldier, would love to buy some, but the shipping costs have deterred me. Yeah. Yeah, I can't buy from him. You know, his shipping is just, it is what it is. It's not like he's being nefarious and overcharging for it. But yeah, he's pretty much only selling to people in Australia. You know, I like Drew's work. Second favorite miniatures manufacturer. Number one's combat, man. I love the combat figures, but Battlefield is a strong number two. And they've got some figures that are as good as combat. It just I just like the combat poses. But I can't buy from them, it's just too expensive. Now luckily the exchange rate is in my favor, but still it costs too much. And I don't need the stuff badly enough. If I needed the stuff badly enough, yeah, I'd go ahead and get it, but so I'm actually thinking at some point I'm actually going to paint the SS that I have. I know I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep at night, but but I have the figures. They are rat bastards, and it'd be fun to hate on them. And I would like the challenge of painting their camouflage. but they're not going to be the saviors of Europe. They won't be referred to as that. Yeah, there's just a litany of 3D printed stuff and MDF stuff, and plus the traditional resin stuff like this. I only got these because it was a good deal on them, and nobody wants this. Only you and me want this scale. Oh, those old hovels, 20 millimeter. Nobody plays that game. Nobody plays that scale. Go away, 28 millimeter fanboy. So I went to this game store, and it had a ton of stuff from that would have been great to have if it was in 20 millimeter, and it was in 28. I was like Warlord scatter terrain and stuff, just really cool pieces like couches, and yeah, I wouldn't mind having some couches. There's one shutter here. Is there one on this side? Up at the top. Oh, this is the top too. At the top also. Do you have any Fallschirmjägers? I don't. I don't have a single Fallschirmjäger. I do not have any of Gearing's boyfriends. um, there's a lot of I've said this before. There's parts of World War II that just don't interest me, and one of those pretty high up on the list. The theater that involves the Germans that I think is the least interesting is Crete. I just don't think Crete's very interesting. You know, um, it doesn't interest me. The Fallschirmjägers that were in Normandy were pretty badass. What was the sixth Panzer the sixth Fallschirmjäger regiment, or the fifth or the sixth, one of those? Yeah, those were veteran dudes. I've lost my pace where it was at. Let's take this um, the stone color. We're gonna add some white to it. Just like I'm not interested in doing Italians and Northern Russia. Wow, talk about a losing scenario. You think the Italians aren't very good in North Africa? Send them to Russia where they got to deal with the T-34. Just the standard basic T-34. They're screwed. I mean, you just can't do you can't do shit against them. Got a little bit of highlighting here. Have you seen that? Have you seen that Italian village that's 3D printed? I forget who the hell makes it. It is absolutely salivatingly gorgeous. And I remember a while ago saying, "Man, that'd be nice to get, but I gotta figure out how to paint buildings." I think I figured out how to paint buildings. Okay, but that's expensive. I mean, it's like $300. If you want to get the one that comes with the base, it's like $300. Which, it's worth it if you get it and it turns out well. It's not like it wouldn't keep me busy for about 4 months or maybe even longer than that. Battle honors. Yeah, battle honor stuff is so expensive on the shipping. So expensive. And I think I was going to get something from the Excise miniatures, but the more I look at them, they just look really strange. There's just something about them that's just off. Excise miniatures, or however the hell you pronounce it. The figures look really robust and skeletal and gaunt-like at the same time. Something just off about them. You into country music since you said you're like a Virginia hillbilly, whatever? I am flat out completely ignorant of country music. Absolutely ignorant of it. I don't have a clue. Of course, I don't have a clue about any music that's come out now since the 21st century. just it's just not that important to me. But I don't know shit about country artists at all. You don't like country music, at least most. I like most other music, pop, hip hop, classical jazz. I don't like traditional jazz. Where were we? We were in a we were in one of the lounges. We were waiting for the plane to go, and they had this jazz song go on. I like smooth jazz, but they had this traditional jazz song going on, and whoever was playing it, they had a hard on for a clarinet, and it was almost like you ever heard a song that has a really annoying bagpiper. It was kind of like that. Like, will you just shut up and break that clarinet in half and shove it up his ass? It's just like, man, will you please stop with the damn clarinet? The problem with traditional jazz music is everybody's trying to be a star. It'd be like if you were like on a rowboat, everybody wants to be the captain. It's like everybody has a place, and you can't all be the star. Or it just creates chaos. So I don't really like traditional jazz music because of that. Smooth jazz, absolutely. Almost all of them, but which is actually funny. That's one of the first things I started listening to when I was painting my DBA armies was smooth jazz. And then it just became too soothing, and I needed something that had a little bit more gusto in it, so to speak. So yeah, but I'm totally ignorant of country music. Hip hop, I don't care if that was ever invented. I just it just doesn't speak to me. You know, I'm allergic to the snare drum. It drives me bananas too. There's just some sounds that just I'd rather not hear. And a lot of the hip hop stuff has a lot of lows and a lot of highs and nothing in between. Um, Anyhow, Whoa. That could have been bad. Shit, it's almost 9 o'clock. I'm going to have to stop soon or be able to pick up in the morning. Aguilar, huh? Well, we'll have to check that out. So yeah, this is where we're going to stop for tonight. And we'll be back in the morning, same bat time, same bat channel. And we'll see you then as we finish this set of row houses. All right, folks, thanks for stopping by.